Did the Arrow have enough arrows in his quiver last night? The White Ranger debuted without Jason David Frank. We had a title for title match, and the Dick Punch heard around the world. Guess what we're talking about? Well, we're going to be talking about the SummerSlam review powered by Google Hangouts. Prepare to warp.
Hi, this is TNA Impact Wrestling superstar Rockstar Spud, and you're watching WGS-TV at www.youtube.com/WrestleGamer.
Greetings, everyone. You've worked your way in from the tube view into another episode of WGS-TV right here on youtube.com/WrestleGamer. Today is August 24th, 2015. Before we get the review started, we got a couple of birthdays I want to make mention here on review. First off, it's my little brother's birthday today. Dustin and Justin Boudreaux is their 24th birthday. Happy birthday to them. And not only that, they share a birthday with Vince McMahon, and I believe he turned 70 today.
Wow.
Yeah, that's, Vince McMahon is getting up there. It might be almost time for him to, take a back seat and let everybody else drive the company, if you know what I mean.
Before you go on, I had to disagree with you. He's not going to stop and let the show control it. Everybody else, because he is a control freak. That's going to happen when he's 6 feet under.
Yep, guys and gals. Well, what we're going to be doing on today's video, guys, was talking about SummerSlam from last night. First, a couple of things I want to make mention. For those of you who were live with us last night for the SummerSlam Hangout live reactions video, I do appreciate you guys. There was a lot of you guys in the chat room, and amazingly, in less than 24 hours, the Hangout has over 6,000 views. So that in itself is amazing, especially when it pertains to my channel and the normal amount of views that I get. So I do appreciate you guys out there who hung around with us during the actual live stream. And for those of you who need to probably get a pair of glasses and need to read the title of the video last night when it said live reactions, I can't believe how many people were asking me, why won't you show the video? It's YouTube. WWE is a stickler for their copyrights. You can't do that. So, yeah, it said live reactions in the video. It did not say live streaming. So, people need to check their eyesight. But anyway, guys and gals, we're going to go ahead and get to the review right now. I just wanted to get those announcements out of the way. Also joining me for the review, guys and gals, he is the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, the hardcore one himself, Rick Head. Rick, how you doing? And we might have lost Rick.
Oh, let me hit the mute button there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm doing awesome. And after last night's SummerSlam pay-per-view, I was pleasantly surprised. If I can do a quick rant here, the Monday's go-home show wasn't that good, and I thought it was going to water down the pay-per-view, but no, I had to give it a plus.
Now, one thing that was I made mention of on the NXT live stream Saturday night before I had to get it pulled down because WWE blocked it on the count of OBS picking up the live stream I had on WWE.com. So I'm still trying to work out the little bugs on OBS and just exactly what I could do with that app for you guys here on the channel. One of the things I did say that SummerSlam had to really step it up because TakeOver Brooklyn was indeed a really phenomenal show. And SummerSlam really had to pick it up. Now, did they pick it up? Did they go all out? Well, we're about to talk about it right here on the review. And while we're doing that, let me go ahead and just very quickly open up the live chat room. And just in case we get any live chatters right here on the stream, always keep in mind, guys and gals, we always record the videos on Google Hangouts before I download them and apply the appropriate edits and watermarks. Oh, shut up, ad. Sorry about that. But anyway, guys and gals, the opening match for SummerSlam featured Randy Orton and Sheamus. Now, for what it was an okay match. We really can't say anything too bad about it. But from the get-go, Rick, you kind of get the feeling that they were going to be like on a process of a certain amount of time for each one of the matches, and you kind of get that feeling that they were trying to set a pace for some unknown reason.
Yeah, I think when we even talked about it in the chat room, the first few matches actually did move a little bit quicker than expected. The Orton Sheamus match, it was okay, but the problem is that these two have been fighting each other so much over the past month and a half. We pretty much just saw the same thing. It wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't a phenomenal match either.
Sheamus would go in and hit the bro kick on Randy Orton to pick up the win. Up next, the WWE Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way match. The primetime players defending against New Day, Lucha Dragons, and Los Matadores. And one of the things I felt from the get-go, and I think I even talked a little bit about it last night on the live stream, was the fact that I felt that this match should have been an elimination match instead of a Fatal 4-Way match. And because it was just so chaotic, but you had a feeling of, again, WWE, especially on the main roster, trying to go all out, take it to that next level that they needed to be, considering how great NXT TakeOver Brooklyn was. And they were doing some, insane spots towards the latter part of this match. And the finish of this, it was Titus with the Clash of the Titus on one of the Los Matadores. But however, it was Big E and Kofi Kingston kind of interfering, and Kofi would pin the Matador that got hit with the Clash of the Titus, and therefore the New Day reclaim the Tag Team Championship. But like I said, Rick, you kind of had that feeling of them trying to go all out and step it up, considering, the how well NXT TakeOver was the previous night.
I had to agree with you there, and I even said on the live chat that I think what would have been good is not a Texas Tornado match, but a modified Texas Tornado match, where they would have, each team members could come in. One of each member would be in, and then, of course, if they wanted to, they would have to tag out their other members to bring in. And it's not something we've ever seen before, and I thought that would have been phenomenal.
Up next, we had Rusev and the show-off Dolph Ziggler. And Lana, first off, Lana was in a new outfit, and I got to say, thumbs up for that. That was a nice outfit. Now, could this matchup have used a little bit more of a build for it? Maybe. Now, the finish, I don't know if I agree with the finish, because it ended up being a double count out, and I think a lot of people might feel the same way about that I do, Rick. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think a lot of people wanted to see a clean finish. But in hindsight, the way I see it is they were trying. I guess they were trying to do something to kind of maybe extend and prolong the feud by not having a clean finish in this match.
Yeah, that's my guess. I mean, most of the people who I've talked to said that this match should have been a mixed tag match, and obviously that just didn't happen. So I'm wondering if maybe on the next pay-per-view, Night of Champions, we could see that. Now, I had a few people argue with me saying that Night of Champions is going to be all titles only. And if you know the WWE by now, that's just not the case. There will be every title on the line, but they always have room for a few extra matches.
Yeah, they never really stick with gimmick pay-per-views anymore like they used to in the early days. And so I really don't see what the point would be to go away from that trend now. If they're not doing it, if they haven't done it lately, what's to say that they're going to do it now? There's nothing. Anyway, up next we had, of course, our celebrity Stephen Amell, aka the Arrow from the CW, teaming up with Neville to take on Stardust and King Barrett. And for what it was, for Stephen Amell, and with it being his very first match and probably his only match in WWE, he did some good spots for what it was. He sold pretty well. Again, given that this was his first match, and we already knew that, since he was a celebrity, he was going to win. There was no doubt about that. But for what it was, Rick, in my opinion, Stephen Amell actually did really, really decent.
Again, like you said, it was kind of an obvious as to who's going to win on that match. So I just really didn't pay too much attention. Like, yeah, he did some good spots, and it's obviously that he was training with Neville and possibly even Stardust down in the Performance Center for the match. And keep in mind, the guy does his own stunts on the show, The Green Arrow, which I've yet to watch. So, I'll give the guy a little bit of credit. He's done better than other celebrities have in the past.
The Intercontinental Championship triple threat match was up next. Ryback, The Miz, and Big Show. And all I'm going to see is with the way they finish this match, Rick, in my personal mind, I want this little sucky feud that they've been doing with these three guys to be over.
Well, I think the reason why, obviously, they had to extend the feud was Ryback got the staph infection, and that match was supposed to be a battleground, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think once he came back, they decided, okay, let's have it done all over again. I knew Big Show wasn't going to win because he made it very clear about the same week as SummerSlam that he's going to be going to part-time wrestling.
I hate to interrupt, but we actually do have a live chatter on the live stream right now, and it comes from Peak Lington, if I'm saying that correctly. He says the trouble with the Fatal 4-Way match was that Los Matadores and Lucha Dragons were never built as serious competitors beforehand, and for fans who followed them through NXT, they kind of had that feeling already of that familiarity, if I could talk. The words are there, my lips are blocking them, of the Lucha Dragons and what they can do in NXT. And when they made that transition to WWE's main roster, they really haven't, stepped it up. But then again, so hasn't the Ascension and so many other people from NXT. So that, I kind of say that they're kind of lost in the mid-card shuffle. Now, as far as Los Matadores is concerned, that gimmick has died. It's flatlined, and WWE wants to keep it on life support. Because I think the only thing interesting about that is when El Torito makes everyone look stupid. And that's a little midget in a bull costume. But Picklington, go ahead and still put your comments in through about SummerSlam from what we're talking about. I'm going to check in back and forth with you in the chat room to get your comments on the pay-per-view in itself. Now, following the Intercontinental title match, the Wyatt family in the form of Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper taking on Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. My first question is, Rick, what in the blue hell was Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper wearing last night to the ring?
It looked like Bray Wyatt was wearing some kind of like a hoodie with the devil's horns, and I think that was supposed to make him, promote his new face of fear gimmick. So.
By the way, joining us really quickly, guys, on the review is a man himself, Mick37. Mick, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Mick, what's up?
Not much.
Well, we had some fun last night on the Hangout. We're talking about the Wyatt family and Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt. And one of the things that's definitely got to be said about that match, Mick, it was off to a chaotic start.
Oh, yeah. A lot of jumping out of the ring.
Now, could this match have been a little bit better with maybe a no disqualification tornado tag stipulation in it, Rick?
I think if they had that tornado tag, no stipulation for the stip, I absolutely think that would have helped. The match was very chaotic. A lot of great spots from everybody, but I think it was a little too chaotic and really one of those matches you really don't call. You just want to sit back and watch and see who wins.
And there were two things we need to take notice about this match, guys and gals, and that's one of the reasons why you never listen to rumors from the IWC, because there were two major rumors from the IWC when it comes to this match right here. The first rumor is that Eric Rowan was supposed to return and help the Wyatt family win. That didn't happen. And the second rumor from the IWC is that Dean Ambrose was going to turn heel, and neither one of those rumors came to pass. So whenever you hear rumors from the IWC, you take it with a grain of salt, because that's just what the IWC wants. It's not actually there's no validity to what they say when it comes to rumors. Those are just things that they want to happen, not things that are going to happen. Fans wanted Dean Ambrose to turn heel. Didn't happen. I think fans wanted Eric Rowan to come back, so that way the Wyatt family is back to full strength, and that didn't happen either.
Actually, I do have an update on Eric Rowan because they were trying to get him back, but unfortunately his injury, he's still out. He could be out until September, possibly October.
title for title. Seth Rollins versus John Cena. Mick, first question. What in the blue hell was Seth Rollins wearing last night?
The white Power Ranger suit.
I'm like,
cut the sleeves off.
First off, I'm stupefied as to whoever greenlit that ring gear. Because I've been all over Facebook last night and this morning, and there have been so many different White Ranger memes in comparison to Seth Rollins. It was just utterly ridiculous, in my personal opinion. You know, now as far as this actual matchup goes in itself, this was an anti-Cena crowd for obvious reasons. Now, did it still take away from the match in itself? I don't think it should have. Apart from that springboard stunner, which I kind of agree with everybody that needs to be taken out of Cena's moveset because it was botched terribly in this match. But I think a lot of fans, Rick, were expecting Cena to walk away with the championship. I wasn't thinking that at all because for one of the major reasons is they started a new merchandise line with John Cena promoting the fact that he's a 15-time World Heavyweight Champion, and if they would have put the title on him for a 16th time after they just started the new merchandise line, that I think WWE Merchandise and Creative would be having a little bit of a problem with each other, saying, well, we just put a 15-time World Heavyweight Championship merchandise line. What the F are you doing putting the title on him for a 16th time? You kind of get what I'm saying, Rick?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there to a point. The only thing I can say is I did suspect that, but I also suspected the one thing that no titles would change hands. I really thought that Triple H was going to come down and play a role, but we know that just didn't come to pass. And
why Jon Stewart, though? Why Jon Stewart?
This is what I'm going to get to. I would not be surprised if Triple H put Jon Stewart up to it. That's probably what we're going to hear tonight. We're going to find out tonight the why on Raw. That's my expectation.
One thing we got to say about that, Mick, is I don't think anybody kind of figured Jon Stewart to be the one to run down there and do what he did to cost John Cena the United States Championship.
No, and I might not have been paying attention, but the only thing Jon Stewart said during the whole show before that was talking to Paul Heyman.
Yeah, pretty much. And Paul Heyman, again, for the love of God, stop singing. Oh.
Paulus.
Yeah, anyway, it's Diva Revolution time. Team Van taking on Team PCB and Team Bella. And I've said it for quite some time that I'm glad that the NXT Divas are finally getting their fair shake on the main roster and getting the chance to shine and on a much bigger scale, on a much bigger with a much bigger crowd and a much bigger viewer demographic than they could have with NXT. Even though NXT is probably one of the best developmental things, and I say that in quotation marks because sometimes you get the feeling that NXT outshines the main roster on so many different levels. But be that as it may, they've made the main roster divas so much more interesting to watch. And it was an interesting type of a match. First off, it would be Brie Bella. By the way, what was up with Brie Mode being on her ass? Anybody get there? Anybody saw that?
What was on her ass?
Yeah, it said Brie Mode on it. And I think a lot of people were saying, well, that should be Butt Mode on it. And I think that's what a lot of people in the chat room last night were saying.
The letters were kind of weird, too.
Well, I think it's with her, especially she really seems to be pushing that whole Brie Mode gimmick, and a lot of people said that Brie Mode gimmick should only be when she's a face, not a heel.
And she can't even sell it when she's a face. She's like, Brie Mode! That's not selling it. That's just dying out there. But anyway, it was Brie Bella with the Bella Buster on Tamina to eliminate Team Bad. But the actual finish of the match was kind of odd, in my opinion, considering what the actual finish was, Mick. And it was a pump handle suplex from Becky Lynch to Brie. If anything, my question is, why didn't they go for Becky Lynch's signature, which is the disarmer submission hold?
I don't know. That was weird to me too. I didn't question it though.
What was your opinion on that, Rick?
My only guess is that they're trying a new finisher for her instead of a submission. Most wrestlers, like people like John Cena, have the STF and the AA, and maybe they're trying to do the same thing with Becky Lynch by trying and say, hey, look, we can't always do a finisher, so we might have to do a finishing move. And I actually liked it because it was like a pump handle slam into a rock bottom, which I thought was a very unique finisher. So don't be surprised if we see that more often.
Up next, possibly one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion, guys and gals, and that's Kevin Owens and Cesaro. And you kind of get that feeling from when you were watching the match that they've worked a lot together, especially as Kevin Steen and Claudio Castagnoli, if I'm saying that correctly, in Ring of Honor. And whenever you have that kind of familiarity, I can't talk today.
Familiarity?
Yeah, thank you. Again, the words are there, my lips are blocking them. Whenever you have that with two guys, especially who have worked a lot together, especially in the indies, and they know each other and they know their movesets and they know what they can do, they can put on a really good match. And that's exactly what we had right there, Rick, with these two guys. They worked a lot together, especially in Ring of Honor, and they brought that to WWE, and they ended up putting on a really good performance for a match.
Yeah, absolutely. The chemistry between the two was excellent, and even the fans, you could hear them chanting ROH and Ring of Honor, which I'm sure the WWE was not happy about.
No, they're apparently not. They're never really happy, Mick, whenever they chant for another organization, are they?
No. What crowd was it that they kept doing things like that? Was it somewhere in Canada?
I'm not sure.
It was at a Raw, and they kept just chanting names that were in other companies and other companies' names, and I just thought it was really funny because they just weren't getting any good reception, no matter how good the matches were. I think it was earlier this year.
Oh, well, we're probably going to look into that, and hopefully maybe we'll find an answer. And the main event of SummerSlam, The Undertaker taking on Brock Lesnar. My question to both of you, starting with you, Rick, did this match live up to the hype?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, I don't think it should have been the main event. Because if you ask me, I thought the Cena-Rollins match was far better done. With the exception, of course, Jon Stewart coming in. But either way, it was still. In this match, you could tell that, Brock is just a sweat pig to begin with, but Undertaker was really sucking wind throughout the whole match. So I'm really hoping, as much as I respect The Undertaker and what he's done, the man needs to retire. He really needs to hang up his boots.
And Mick, there were a couple of awkward things about, Brock Lesnar and the fact that he got cut 2 times, and if those were supposed to be intentional bladings, he did it very, very awkwardly.
The first time was really terrible if he did it. The second time was even more terrible because it barely bled until the end, and I just think that part was a disaster. If you want to bleed a lot, the idea is to cut your scalp. But
I'm not sure if that was a legitimate blade. I think that might have been. I think that was an injury, which it looked like it dried up, and then once you got hit again, it just reopened it.
And another spot that everyone's been talking about, and Rick, you know what I'm talking about, because everyone on social media has been making memes about that, is the kind of exchange of Lesnar and Undertaker sitting up Lesnar and laughing at Undertaker, and Undertaker with that face mocking Lesnar. And I even said it on the live stream, the reaction stream last night, is the fact that there was going to be so many memes, regardless of the outcome of this match. There was going to be so many memes of Undertaker's face on social media, because how can you not make get a capture of that and not make a meme out of it? And people have been going crazy with that. It's just it's just one of those moments that are just going to stick in your mind more than anything, is that moment when Undertaker's face mocking Brock Lesnar. And with the finish, people kind of calling controversial. Some people are calling it botch. I'm calling it stupid to call it a botch, because here's why. Now, from the camera angle, they had Undertaker tapping out without the referee seeing. So the angle they're playing up is that the timekeeper saw it and rang the bell without the referee calling for the bell. And this was done deliberately to take the referee's attention away from the match, so that way the Undertaker can do what he's been doing since last month, which was the trend is punching or kicking Brock Lesnar in the balls, and that's exactly what he did when Lesnar, out of the Kimura lock, had his attention to the referee and to the bell, thinking he won the match, ends up getting punched in the dick from the Undertaker, and the Undertaker traps him in the Hell's Gate. Lesnar passes out as he was giving him the middle finger when doing that, and I can't remember the last time someone in WWE was allowed to be on camera giving the middle finger. But officially, the Undertaker will pick up the win via pass-out technical submission. I believe you called that, Mick. But apparently, Paul Heyman was very adamant and declared Brock Lesnar to be the winner via tap-out. Now, I don't know. I really don't understand the way they did this finish, Mick. One would think that they would probably did it this way to possibly maybe prolong it for another pay-per-view. A lot of people don't want to see this at WrestleMania 32, me be included, but I really just don't know what to say about that finish. I don't know why they just didn't go with a clean finish with this one.
I think they're making a weird attempt at making Undertaker the heel, but I don't know if that's going to work at this point.
All right, and one thing to really note about this, because I did see it on Facebook, you know, if you look closely, you can kind of see it. When Undertaker was going back to the staging area to go backstage, he does end up collapsing a little bit. Now, I haven't heard any reports as to, you know, what happened with that, you know, if anything happened to The Undertaker, or even if they're going to mention that on tonight's Monday Night Raw. And knowing Paul Heyman and the way he does his promos and his segments, more than likely we're going to hear about that. Because if you talked about WrestleMania 30 with Undertaker collapsing backstage, then more than likely he's going to make mention of what happened last night at SummerSlam as well. Anyway, guys and gals, it's now time to go into our overall scores and our picks for best and worst match or segment of SummerSlam this year. Now, SummerSlam needed to really step it up due to how well NXT TakeOver Brooklyn did, and it did its best. It did its best to try to step it up and go all out for what was supposedly a 4-hour show, and if you didn't count the pre-show, it was about 3 3/4 of an hour for SummerSlam. But for what it did, and you know, it wasn't technically a 4-hour piece of crap like I hoped it wasn't going to be. There were some matches that had weird finishes, especially the main event with Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, with Seth Rollins and that ring gear. I'm like, that's an image. I really hope that's just a one-time thing, and that's not Seth Rollins' new permanent ring gear, because that looked utterly ridiculous. The inclusion of Jon Stewart for the ending for the Rollins and Cena match, I'm still trying to wonder, you know, why exactly did they go that route instead of doing Triple H? They decided to, you know, use Jon Stewart for that. I wonder if we'll hear more about that on Monday Night Raw tonight. That's my question. But as far as best match of the night, I'm going to give it to Kevin Owens and Cesaro. And you know, and like we said before, when they have this chemistry and they have this familiar, I'm not even going to say it. When they've worked together in the past and they know each other, I wasn't going to fail on the third time in attempting to say that F word, and I don't mean the 4-letter variety either. You know, they have that ability to put on really good matches, and you had that with Kevin Owens and Cesaro, and it was indeed a really well-worked match. As far as worst match of the night, as I look back at my notes and think about it, I gotta go really with Rusev and Dolph Ziggler, because I kind of disagree with the finish of the match. You know, I was kind of hoping to see a clean finish, but you know, the way they're possibly working it is something that I think even you, Rick, made mention of, is the fact that they're going to try to lead into possibly a mixed tag match, if not tonight, possibly at the next pay-per-view, with all 4 parties included in that one. But the finish was just, I don't know, it was just something about it that just looked atrocious in my opinion. But anyway, my official score for SummerSlam is going to get a 3.75 out of 5. Rick, over to you. What's your overall score and your picks for best and worst match or segment of SummerSlam this year?
Well, for me, the best match I'd have to say was the title for title match. Minus again, as I said before, the Jon Stewart. I have to give it tied, of course, with Cesaro and Rollins match because they were both phenomenal matches. I was really pleased with SummerSlam overall. The worst match, if you want to call it the worst match, was Ziggler versus Rusev. The outcome kind of watered it down or kind of like really put a damper on it, but the match itself wasn't too bad either.
Yeah, I could kind of see your point on that. And, well, finally, let's go to Mick and get his overall score and his picks for best and worst match or segment of SummerSlam.
My least favorite match on the card was, I'd probably agree with both of you, just because of the finish, the Ziggles and Rusev match. And my best match, I'm an ROH mark, so I'd go for, I keep wanting to call him Steen, Owens and Cesaro. I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Anyway, guys and gals, on that note, what we want to know from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on SummerSlam this year. What are your overall scores? What are your picks for best and worst match or segment of SummerSlam this year? We definitely want to know what you guys out there have to say. Be sure you put your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button. Rick, where can fans check you out on HWR?
Coolest thing you can always check us out on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. And please, take a few seconds to head on over to YouTube/HWR Show and subscribe to us. We have podcasts, tributes, shoot videos, and much, much more.
WGS-TV is on social media, guys, on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. Be sure you check out the links in the description box below. And don't forget to check out the videos in the annotations, and those links will also be in the description box below for your convenience. So with that being said, guys and gals, for the hardcore host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, Rick Head and Mick37, I'm the Wrestle Gamer. Double Babe only here, John, saying we'll see you at the next Warp Zone.
Today's topics of discussion. Any member of the council, as always, may put forward requests for what it is to be discussed first. Oh,